When you have a tier one asset, when you have an asset that is being accumulated by the banks in greater numbers than ever before over the last 18 months, there's a lot to be said for gold. Even though silver is the most attractive play on the planet, there are a lot of people who would rather not store things, even in a very reputable institution like Brinks. There is wisdom in the statement that if you don't own it physically or possess it, you don't own it. Now, that's really not true, but what is true is that gold and silver are assets that maintain no counterparty risk or are not someone's liability simultaneously with your ownership.
The renowned analyst Andy Schectman, CEO of Miles Franklin, discusses the significance of owning precious metals, particularly gold and silver, in the current financial landscape. Schectman believes that having a Tier 1 asset means possessing an asset increasingly accumulated by banks. According to the 2023 Central Bank Gold Reserve Survey recently released by the World Gold Council, 24% of central banks plan to add more gold to their reserves in the next 12 months. 71% of central banks surveyed believe global resources will increase in the next 12 months. That was a 10-point increase over last year. This accumulation by major financial institutions underscores the importance of gold as a store of value. Gold and silver prices are solidly lower in early U.S. trading Tuesday, as a strong U.S. dollar and rising U.S. Treasury yields have the metals market bulls running for cover today. December gold was last down $13.30 at $1,953.80, and December silver was down $0.617 at $23.94. Schectman acknowledges that people might want higher prices for precious metals like silver. However, he cautions against rushing things, emphasizing that the fundamentals of these assets are strong. Regarding the supply of physical precious metals, Andy mentions that the U.S. Mint produced over 3 million eagles in August, which is still below their production capacity. The U.S. Mint has increased American silver eagle coins production to meet demand, minting over 1 million coins every month since May 2023, surpassing the production numbers of the same month in 2022. Despite strong demand for physical metals, Schectman finds it befuddling that premiums haven't risen significantly. He believes that until the wider public recognizes the importance of protecting their wealth with precious metals, it may remain frustrating for those who understand their value in the financial ecosystem. We will now bring you clips from Andy Schectman's interview with Arcadia Economics. But before we do, if you want more videos like this, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell for more updates. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
Look, I know people would like to see prices moving much higher. We always say, be careful what you wish for. And the longer they're able to maintain the illusion of status quo, the better value it is. And I guess you just have to ask yourself if you're frustrated by the lack of price performance, would you rather have everything falling apart and things really getting interesting on multiple levels, geopolitical and political and social, and all of the things that would impact our lives with a higher price in silver, tailing along? That's going to come, but let's not rush it. I think the fundamentals are so strong right now that before we know it, those types of prices will be evident. But I'm more concerned about what comes along with it. But hey, look, gold just hit I believe its all-time high in China and Japan just on Friday. So, or maybe even on Monday. It was just the other day. I just read an article that, it's rising in other currencies. The dollar's strength is blinding the reality that gold and silver are performing really, really, really well in other currencies. So give it time. And as the dollar starts to lose its share of settlement transactions in energy, I think ultimately it will start to erode its reserve status, and then we will start to see gold and silver take off the way that we have always anticipated. And just have to hang on, I guess, and trust your gut. They made over 3 million eagles in the month of August, and that's 3 times what they've been making, yet still below what they have the capacity to make. I think they got lambasted, including Representative Mooney from West Virginia, I believe, sent them a letter saying, "What the hell are you guys doing?" So interesting times. The premiums have, I think, bottomed. They've plateaued. They're not going down further. The Mint pumped out 3 million. They came down a bit. I guess you'd say we're in a holding pattern right now. And that to me is the most befuddling thing of all. And I'm not, I try to be objective in the way that I look at things. I try to look at things the way that uh, other people would look at things. And I guess the truth of the matter is that, Chris, we're still the minority in this ecosystem of finances. We are still the minority, and until the public wakes up and realizes the importance of protecting themselves with something like a hard asset, like precious metals, the way that the central banks are doing, then I think it's going to be frustrating in terms of watching these developments, whether it be a higher price or seeing the premiums take off. They will again and again. I'll say I believe it will be the banks that light the fuse. I really do believe that there will be bank failures and bail-ins that light the fuse. So it befuddles me that the premiums aren't rising, that the demand for physical, look, don't get me wrong, it's still strong. It's not like it was in 2017. It's still very, very strong. And we're on pace to have our biggest year ever. I never thought that would be possible after last year. But my point is it should be tenfold stronger based upon what I see in this economy and what I see on a broader macro perspective. So no, premiums have not taken off yet. They've plateaued. It's a very consumer-friendly market, both in price, premium, and also availability.
The 15th BRICS Summit has gone further than any other recently to modernize and galvanize the grouping. It has sent a strong signal that the post-World War II order should accept the multipolar reality and change with the times. The inclusion of countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, the United Arab Emirates, Argentina, and Ethiopia in discussions with BRICS is noteworthy. These nations are major players in oil production, agriculture, and natural resource reserves. When they join, the BRICS group will represent approximately 30% of global GDP, 46% of the world's population, and 43% of oil production. Regarding the recent BRICS meeting, Schectman highlights that expectations were high, with some anticipating a gold price surge. While a gold-backed settlement currency wasn't introduced, the participating countries tasked their financial ministers with conducting further research and reporting back next year. This approach suggests ongoing interest and collaboration among the BRICS nations. Let's get back to the interview.
I mean, I think it's a very, very, very relevant discussion, even though nothing earth-shattering happened. When you bring in countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates, you're talking massive major oil producers. When you bring in Argentina, you have a major agricultural producer. And actually, most people don't know this, but they're the largest natural gas producer in South America. And when you bring in Ethiopia, you have the fastest growing economy in Africa. Most of the African countries want to join up with the BRICS facility. So when you talk about the size and the scope of this, you have 30% of global GDP, and that will be as of the 1/1/24 when these countries come in. You'll have 46% of the world's population and 43% of the world's oil production. And so, not to mention 75% of these rare earth metals like manganese, and 50% of graphite, and 28% of nickel, and 10% of copper. It's a big deal. You have 23 countries that have formally submitted their application for BRICS 2. You have 22 or 3 countries that have expressed interest in it as well. These are massive, massive events that, I don't think people are really thinking about when they talk about it really being a nothing burger, what came out of the meeting. They were expecting the price of gold to explode. They didn't issue a gold-backed settlement currency, but they came back and tasked their financial advisor, or not the financial advisor, the financial ministers of these countries to do their due diligence and come back next year and bring their findings. What I also found to be recently very relevant is that, you have you look at Iran, and Iran has now become a full member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and the BRICS in a span of 1 year. This is massive, right? This is the sanctions that we impose upon Iran are going to be meaningless. And when you have Iran now really being involved with this massive growing union, you can really see how the rallying cry against the Western hegemony and sanctions and their coercion is changing to an environment that settles around cooperation and expansion. And it's not a good thing as far as I'm concerned. You look at Saudi Arabia, their oil exports have fallen to a 6-year low, as has their treasury holdings, which they've been selling and dumping. It's not a good thing. It's little by little by little by little by little, and then all at once. I think it's really important to understand that this is something that is a trend in motion, and it's not good for the dollar. And people have become accustomed to instant gratification. Typically, it's not quick enough. But this is something that I think needs to be firmly on everyone's radar. It's only going to get crazier from here, as far as I'm concerned.
The role of precious metals is poised to gain even more prominence in the global financial landscape. The recent uptick in the production of American silver eagles, though yet to be reflected in premiums, indicates persistent demand for these assets. How do supply and demand dynamics affect the market's availability and pricing of physical silver coins and bars? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. If you found this video informative, remember to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and enable notifications to stay informed about our latest videos on silver, gold, and copper. Thank you for watching, and we appreciate your support.